Welcome back, everybody, to Who Really Won the Wrestling War. We're in October 1989. Fan Guy WCW pulled back ahead. This is going to be an interesting month to talk about. I'm very interested to hear your take on this month. But how are you doing? How did you enjoy October?
October was good, man. Again, we're still working with semi-limited viewing. I did independently look up a couple of matches that I was able to I found one of them
That's good.
because I really wanted to see the with the whole Peacock and WWE networks. It's
Hot
tough to
mess.
find. Yeah, it's tough to find some of these matches, but I was able to find the Flair versus Funk, the I Quit match.
Nice.
So this was for me was a good month. Both companies seem to continue on with the momentum of trying to actually have feuds. Um, Not quite as impressively as last month. I think last month it might have surprised me because they're doing stuff, and now this month it's like, okay, they're still doing stuff, but I'm ready for it to like kind of move forward. What is your take on it?
Yeah, and like we're recording this in May. This probably won't air till June, so I don't know. Hopefully, Peacock will be better by June. But right now, we're working with a very limited WWF for sure, which is it's hard for me to judge them because like I wanted to see the full Martel versus Tito match, but that fortunately we weren't able to do that. So like both went down for me, but they didn't go down that much. So I'm still enjoying it. It's just like there's just something. I think a lot of booking decisions are bothering me. I guess maybe.
Yes, and I'm with you. They both went down for me as well. Um, yeah, it just feels off. Both companies almost in certain ways just feel a little off. Particularly WCW for me, actually, more so with the booking. And maybe it's because we had such a limited view of WWF. Um, and what I saw from WWF was mostly a big setup to Survivor Series that's about to happen. It all seemed like a huge build-up month for that. So I was trying not to be too critical of them because of that. They kept the momentum going with pretty much all of their feuds. Um, but it just seemed like a big but they seem to have a clearer direction than WCW, which for me seems a little fragmented right now. Like they're sort of not as sure. They don't like they have the Flair Funk feud, and maybe like a Luger Pillman kind of feud, but that's everything. And those are ending up, those are finishing up. So
Yeah.
I'm worried about the next steps for WCW. This month was fine, but I'm worried to see where they go next, or because I can't even begin to predict it.
Yeah, I do think WCW might be the one going downhill more, unfortunately. And I do have more problems with their booking. I think my problem with WWF, which we'll get to, I guess, first, is Survivor Series. I don't know, because I guess they're like forced to put all these feuds together, and they kind of like I don't know, kind of hurts them. And for me,
Yeah, it rushes some of the feuds because it makes some of the feuds go a little longer than they needed to because they're all trying to set it up for this one show.
yeah,
So I agree 100%. It's good, but yeah, and I love Survivor Series. It was one of my favorite pay-per-views growing up because I love the team versus team elimination matches. Um, so I'm anxious to see that next month. That's the show I'm
yeah,
really.
I am looking forward to Survivor Series for sure. I guess it's just maybe just the build up isn't quite good enough for me, but something that was good enough for me and good. You've been talking about it for a while. Genius with Mr. Perfect. Has
Yeah,
some great Mr. Perfect vignettes after Hogan that he's better than Hogan at all these sports.
Hulk Hogan, you can't do that. For me, this might have been the high point from what we saw of WWF was the Mr. Perfect stuff.
It
He's
was.
shooting perfect games of pool, not missing a shot. He's on the golf course, not missing a shot. Clearly setting up a Hogan feud, which again, I'm going from memory here. So I could be right. I could be wrong. Don't hold me to this. I think Perfect might win their first match, which even mildly remembering that, it would shock the shit out of me if it actually
It
happened.
will shock me too.
So I'm looking forward to see that culminate just to see if my memory serves me correct on that one. I haven't looked it up or anything, so I don't know. But yeah, the Genius joining Mr. Perfect, which is a great combination because he's so, they both have the arrogance thing going on. So it was a match made in heaven.
We've been talking for a while about Hogan not having anybody to face in the main event scene because he's beat everybody. So at least Perfect is somebody that he hasn't beat yet, at least, and is somebody that is actually like both intriguing and a viable opponent.
Yeah, and he will beat Perfect. Let's just
yeah.
let's just make that perfectly clear. At some point in the near future, Hogan is going to get multiple wins over Perfect, probably, even if Perfect does get the one win somewhere in there that I remember. But yeah, I mean, it at least gives him someone else to bury. So, like, well played, Hogan. You got another target. And yeah, I mean, and I guess they weren't really happy with the Genius's in-ring work. So they decided to just kind of relegate him to, kind of like
it works though,
like the Virgil status, where like he'll get in the ring probably sometimes to get squashed on, but ultimately just the valet. But yeah, it works. It does work. This whole feud works for me. The Hogan Perfect feud.
Oh yeah, works for me. It does, because everything else still going on with Hogan, because we still got Zeus. Zeus is still around with the $1 Million Man, which, well, I guess we'll get to a little later. But another feud that we didn't get to see enough of, which I kind of wish we did see more of, was Andre and Warrior. I did enjoy Andre with the face paint.
Yeah, Andre, the Ultimate Giant. I'm excited about this. We hardly got to see anything of it, but I like this feud too. These are two absolute legends of the game, and they're both limited in-ring workers, but so I'm sure their match is not going to be a Meltzer 5-star rated match, but
I mean, fuck it, stars though. Anyway,
yeah, exactly. I think it's going to be a fun match with those two, and definitely looking forward to it. Definitely looking forward to that. Great feud stuff. Again, WWF is doing the right thing.
I agree. And I guess we'll just keep going through some of these feuds. The other one, still continuing from last month, was the battle for the King, Duggan and Macho Man. We got more of their yelling at each other, basically. But
yeah, I think I care. This might be, of all the feuds in WWF, the one I care about the least. And I think it's just because it kind of has already culminated. Duggan's not getting the crown back from the Macho King. For me, there's just no more intrigue here. I know they're going to have another match. Maybe it is at Survivor Series, or it'll be a Saturday night's main event. But I don't care. I love Savage too. I just don't care about Duggan at all.
yeah, I mean, I guess I'll say one positive about Duggan. I did like the more angry Duggan rather than the whole whatever his usual shtick is.
Touche. He came out talking about how he's got his bad eye closed or open or whatever, and how he kind of played up his goofiness in that promo, and I enjoyed that because he kind of owned his whole spiel and said he's turning it off for Savage. So I agree. That was probably Duggan's best promo work that I've seen since we've been doing these. I think the feud itself has just lost the fire because Duggan's never going to be a viable threat to get that crown off Macho.
I agree. We didn't really get anything other than some mediocre to bad promos from this.
It's true. It's true.
Now, I did mention it, but DiBiase, I guess we didn't get to see enough of it, but he now has Zeus in his corner. He's buying Zeus. He's paying the Powers of Pain to basically take on Hogan's team at Survivor Series.
This is kind of what I think you were alluding to in some ways, where it just feels rushed and kind of sloppily put together for this particular Survivor Series match. Or at least, I mean, that's how I feel. It is sloppy. It's real sloppily put together. Hogan's got Demolition and
Jake. Jake's the only part of it that works because he's been feuding with DiBiase.
Right. So yes, at least that makes sense. And then you got the Hogan Zeus thing, I guess. But of the Survivor Series matches, I think I care the least about this one because and it's a foregone conclusion. Hogan's going to beat all four of the other guys by himself. So, I mean, like, whatever. But I did notice that they did have a match. Are we not there yet?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
DiBiase and Hogan did have a match that was shown, some of it, a little bit of it. And it was a weird no DQ finish here too, where there should have been a blatant disqualification against DiBiase, giving Hogan the win, but Hogan has to win clean because he's the All-American guy. So obviously, we're not going to disqualify DiBiase for blatant interference. We're just going to let Hogan get the clean win. Hogan being Hogan.
I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired.
He can't even take a disqualification win. It's got to be clean.
Yeah, Hogan does not. It just does not work for me. I could see why they decided, hey, maybe we should push Warrior because Hogan still, because everything's already happened with Hogan.
Yeah, dude, like watching it back, I can see why. I mean, people loved him back in the day. I loved him back in the day, and fans today are kind of more honest about what he brought to the whole sport. And so, I think it's weird how it went from he's this beloved character to like watching it back, you're like, ugh, I freaking hate Hogan and his egotistical thing.
Yeah, it just has not aged well.
Ooh.
But I mean, I guess when you're as popular as he was, I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah, controlling stake in the company apparently. He got everything.
It seems like. Now the other match, we really got to see the end, unfortunately, was Martellentino Santana. This is another build to Survivor Series. Honestly, one of the ones I'm more looking forward to, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. It's weird because I'm not crazy about, like, this feud makes the most sense on paper. These guys used to be tag team partners. Martel turns on him, walks away from the match in the middle of it. While, this feud makes a lot of sense, but I just don't like Tito Santana. I don't find him charismatic or personable at all. So it just doesn't, like, I don't care.
They also just haven't really executed. Like, on paper, it should be better than they've executed this feud.
Yes, big time. And they should have given them more. Like, they should have given them more airtime, more opportunities to further their feud. Because for all intensive purposes that I could tell, and I read the review that you sent me, and then I read another review I found, and this match was, I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. Both reviews I read said this match was excellent between Santana and Martel. And so I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt and thinking that it was a pretty good match. I know both those guys are actually pretty good workers. So it does not surprise me that this was probably the best match of the month for WWF.
Yeah. And honestly, looking at a team, it's really Dusty Rhodes that's carrying this for the faces. But
yeah.
Because it's him, Brutus, Red Rooster, and Tito. And yet I am looking forward to it, though. And I think it's thanks to Dusty.
I hate that whole team except for Dusty. I mean, I hate's a strong word. I don't like anybody on that team except for Dusty. Not a fan. But I love Dusty so much that I mean, how can you not? And they're up against Slick's guys, right?
Yeah.
Akeem, Bossman,
Martel, and someone else.
He just added someone. It had to be the person Slick just added. Who did he just add? I don't even know.
I can't remember either.
Yeah, I can't either. No, whatever. Like, whatever.
Must not be somebody that great.
Yeah.
Well, how about any thoughts on the whole Rick Rude and Piper stuff still going on?
It was wild because we didn't get much of it this month, considering for me it dominated the whole program last month. I mean, that's fine. I mean, I'd rather just see, I'm pretty sure they're going to have a match at Survivor Series and that's going to close that one down. It's fine. I don't really care for Piper, but obviously I've made my feelings on that pretty well known. But I love Rude, so I wish we'd gotten more of it. I would have been okay with them doing more this month as well.
Yeah, this is just another team though. Like, I will take Red Rooster over the Bushwhackers and Snuka as Piper's teammates.
Agreed. There's no, you hit I did. Piper's team is by far my least favorite because I don't like Piper,
Yeah.
I don't like Snuka, and I don't like the Bushwhackers. So, all the face teams are just sort of, I don't know, man. Not my vibe.
They're not really intriguing at all.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
Well, I mean, those were all the main stories. Any thoughts on the perfect Paul Roma match?
I think this was a smart match. They're building up to perfect Hogan, so they got to start giving him some non-squash match wins, obviously, to make him a credible challenger to Hogan. I think Roma's a little not good enough. Like he's going to need a couple bigger wins in that to make him a credible threat to Hogan. But if this was just the first start to that, then I'm okay with it. Like if it's like now he beats Roma, then maybe he gets a big win over maybe like a Brutus, just
Yeah.
some slightly higher mid card guys. Then I think but that's what the match was whatever. I didn't think it was a great match. I think it was a bad match. It was serviceable, but I think the point of this match was just to put Perfect in a spot where he's a little bit more of a credible challenger for Hulk.
Well, anything that I missed that you wanted to talk about for the WWF?
No, I just want to emphasize how good the Perfect stuff was, in my opinion. Like his promos were really good. I mean,
Yeah, I loved them too.
thoroughly enjoyed them. I feel like him and Dusty are the two high points
Yeah.
Currently with the WWF.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The other thing I did like, even though it's kind of dumb, but just because it's Jake Roberts, so anything Jake does right now, I like it. But I like well, I don't like it, but I do like, I can't even explain it. But Zeus being afraid of the snake doesn't really make sense, I don't think.
No, Zeus is supposed to be scared of nothing. And
Yeah.
I know that's how Andre was supposed to be, and he's scared of the snake. But yeah, I agree. It is silly, but I like some whimsical, silly stuff. If that's how they get the out on Zeus is with the snake, even though it's kind of played out because they already used that one with Andre
Yeah.
in the Royal Rumble. I'll be okay with it. It'll make me smile and it'll be fun.
Well, I went down a little bit for the WWF this month as the build just wasn't as good as last month. I gave it a 6.3.
I had given it a 6.6. Just because I didn't want to get too harsh on them, simply because we're just working with limited stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there might have been something in there that that was left out that I would have enjoyed. And it still seems like their direction is going pretty good. So, but it was definitely not as entertaining as the one before, like at all.
It drops a 0.5 to a 6.45. We'll see if WCW can keep the lead.
Oh, I looked it up. I had to know. It's the Honky Tonk Man is the other member of that team.
Okay, well, yeah.
He's not with Slick, but Jimmy Hart apparently is. Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't make me look forward to it anymore, more or less, I guess.
Yeah. It's not even the Twin Towers. I had that wrong. It's the Big Boss Man, Bad News Brown, Rick Martel, and the Honky Tonk Man.
Oh, that's weird. So maybe what's his name's injured? Maybe.
Yeah, Akeem, or maybe he's going to his next gimmick change. Is he going back to One Man Gang or something? I don't know.
Well, on to WCW. I think we'll start with something I enjoyed this month for the most part. That was the whole Luger Brian Pillman feud. I did enjoy that. I mean, they've been pushing Pillman to the moon. We'll get to the pay-per-view, but they have been pushing Pillman to the moon.
Yeah.
And I just like Luger's heel character. I think he's been doing fabulous. He's even been fabulous in the ring too.
Yeah, no. He was. I think he was one of he might have been my top superstars last month.
He was.
And He's continuing it. He is. The very beginning of the very first show of WCW, he comes out and cancels the Pillman match so he could take on the Jobber because the Jobber deserves the title shot more than Pillman, and he's got stuff to do that night. He doesn't want to work up too much of a sweat. I loved it. It had me literally laughing. I was like, this is good. This is good stuff, Luger. Well done.
I agree. He was trying to dodge. He kept trying to dodge Pillman this month, which led to a bunch of brawls.
Yeah.
So I thought this was a great feud this month for WCW, even though it was kind of a short-term feud. It feels like, I don't know if that's true, but
I think it is a short-term feud, but I think it made Pillman more credible. Took him up to the main event scene, or the upper mid card at least. And with the way he handled Luger on the very first show of the month, it was basically a squash match against Luger before Luger just walks out. So I think that they did him right. Like they really did push him to the moon. And probably just because they needed another face, another credible top card face.
Yeah, it's not regularly that people get pushed that well.
No, not that fast.
Yeah.
Not that fast that well. Like he had just debuted like maybe last month or the month before, and he's already gotten some, quite a few non-squash match wins and already got a decent feud for the US title. So clearly they're really high on Brian Pillman, which, I mean, he's a great wrestler. We haven't gotten to see too much of his promo work, which makes me wonder if maybe he's more show or more substance than show.
He's probably green on the mic at this point, and his character's kind of like weird. I don't really know what his character is. He just comes out with a bunch of cheerleaders.
Yeah, he's just that classic face. He's just the most generic face character there is from this era. So I think they're smart though. If he's not good on the mic, they're not letting him screw up what he's got going by giving Dan Spivey like promos. So good job.
Well, speaking of that, I'm sure you have plenty of positivity to speak about Dan Spivey versus Dick Murdock.
I don't have anything nice to say about either side of this match. I'm not high on Murdock. I think he's over the hill. I did have an interesting thought watching his matches this month though. I'm thinking he's just a guy who's like really good in-ring worker. Like he's just been doing it for so long. He's that veteran presence that maybe the guys that either need a tune-up or just some like in-ring work to work a long match. I feel like that's who they're putting him in against. Either the old guys who need a tune-up, like they did that with Rich, I want to say maybe last month.
Yeah.
They did it with Orton the month before where he had these really long matches against these guys. And I think it was just to get some of these guys knock off some ring rust maybe and give them a long match. That's all I could think.
That makes sense.
Because Murdoch's nothing special to me. And maybe Spivey's just been awful in the ring. I feel like he's awful in the ring. So maybe they were like, hey, let's get you in here against Murdoch, get you some reps to try to help Spivey out. Because I have nothing nice to say about Spivey. I'll let you know when I see a wrestler I like less than him. But I can't think of any.
I look forward to seeing that when that day comes.
Yeah, I don't think there's any currently.
Now, one of the other bigger things, and we'll get to it more at the end of the month, we talked about it a lot last month as well, the dynamic dudes, who I don't know how I feel about their month this month, if I'm being honest.
This was a booking mistake, which I'm not going to get there yet because I kind of like hinted on our last show, like how I believe this should have been handled. And I still believe that that's the way they should have handled this. It is a really weird, because it felt like they were pushing them super hard.
Yeah, and they did something that they usually don't do with faces in wrestling, at least not back then, where they basically said they're not going to let the people down at Halloween Havoc. Well.
Yeah, and he stole old boy's girl, which is a classic heel move. So Johnny A stealing Stan Lane's girl. This was confusing for me. The dudes booking this month was very confusing for me. I don't hate the Cornette pairing. but I feel like we're going to get the same payoff that I thought we were going to get before, but not for the titles, which for me makes it
Yeah,
less intriguing.
I feel you. We'll talk about it more at Halloween Havoc. One of the other programs we got, which the hype was good. I enjoyed the hype. The payoff, not so much. But Road Warriors and Skyscrapers was an obvious thing that they needed to go to.
Yeah. The Skyscrapers have just kind of been overlooked. I'm not gonna say overlooked. They were booked they won the double-sided battle royal by themselves. So they had my problem with their booking has been they were booked really strong and they haven't gotten a chance to collect.
Yeah.
Like, and so the fact that that match was finally agreed to, yeah, it is something we needed. Again, not crazy about how this was handled at Havoc. We'll get there. Yeah, I mean, but this match didn't need to happen. It's the two colossal teams, which weird that neither of them has the title. Uh,
Yeah.
coming to a head, and I'm confident that whichever team emerges victorious overall from this feud, not even necessarily from this month, is gonna hold the titles pretty soon.
They should. Anything else on that October 7th?
I just thought it was funny, and the only other thing I had written on this one was that Flair paid Funk's fine so that Funk could get out of his suspension because Flair just wants him that bad. So Flair paid off his fine so that they could lift his suspension.
That was a
And
nice touch.
yeah, exactly. Just the styling and profiling nature of the Nate. Yeah, that was all I got off this show.
How do you feel about Ole Anderson being the one in their corner? He's going to become a prominent backstage figure for better or worse, probably worse, that we'll get to going into the 90s. But
See, I didn't know.
thoughts on Ole?
I didn't know he took over a backstage role. I feel like this was, well, I mean, before you told me that, I felt like this was just for nostalgia. Like, oh, let's bring in a guy who everybody knows was close to Flair, Arn's brother, OG Four Horsemen, tough, just tough and rugged guy. And because of the way the match is set up at Halloween Havoc, I don't hate the choice because this is a guy who, just by his reputation and stuff like that, is never gonna throw in the towel. So I get it. I'm not crazy about it because it feels like it was nostalgia for nostalgia's sake.
Yeah.
But what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think just because I know some of the backstage shit that I've never really liked Ole Anderson because of that. I guess maybe that's unfair, but
It's valid. If he if he was responsible for some atrocious booking and some shenaniganery, it is what it is. I had no idea he was even a backstage presence. He doesn't strike me as.
yeah, we'll get to. I have to read more on it because I don't really know, but I feel like he's definitely like somebody that tried to be a big old power player backstage or something.
Okay. That doesn't surprise me. I mean, he comes from a big name. He's got a big name. That Anderson name.
Now, before we get to Halloween Havoc, we still got some stuff to talk about, but what are your thoughts on the Thunderdome cage match?
A for effort. A for effort.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe a B- for effort. I don't know. It's just a cage. It's electrified.
What do you think?
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like they were trying to do something, lock those dudes in the cage. But this could have just been a cage match. I don't think they needed to be extra like they were with it.
Yeah.
They just decided to go super extra, and they could have just Sting and Flair versus Muda and Funk in a cage match. Mentally, that works better for me.
Way better. Like I kind of get it in theory that it's gonna be electrocuted, so you can't climb out of the cage to get away. It makes sense. It's just I don't know. I guess overthinking.
Yeah, they could have done something similar to Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
But where they can't get, literally not let them get on top and stuff. They could have just they didn't have to go so extra with it. But yeah, I think that's why they did it, was the no escape, because it's like a towel throw match.
Yeah, I guess nobody thought of the cell yet.
What if we just add a top? Like, yo,
Yeah.
this doesn't seem like the furthest stretch. I don't know.
An interesting note I have for this October 21st episode was I wonder if they're like building your boy Norman for a face turn because they got Teddy yelling at him and
They're
shit.
absolutely building him for a face turn. Teddy, basically, it's a Norman promo. Teddy gets up on the camera and just starts, basically doing a skyscrapers promo. Nobody cares about you, Norman. Let me talk about these two guys. Norman kind of looked a little disgruntled in the background, and then he got a squash match right after that he won. So I do think that maybe they realized the error in their ways with Norman, where he does have potential. So I hope he gets a little short run of something.
I can see how it would work as a face turn. He's this old. His original promos were that the world hates him or something to that. I don't remember the exact wording, but I think it could work as like a face you feel sorry for.
Yeah, like he's been beaten down at the asylum and whatever, and now he's a free man or whatever, and he's friendly. I mean, it's gonna be awkward just because that character's awkward as fuck, but like it's gonna be good. Like it'll be good. Yeah, there's gonna be a payoff to a Norman face turn. I mean, on some level, he might just end up getting destroyed by the skyscrapers. I don't know.
True. So then we got more of the Cornet with between the two tag teams. We got the Freebirds attacking the Dynamic Dudes. Midnight Express take a while to come out and help, and then they get sick of helping Cornet with his new friends.
Yeah, I like like I said, I like the whole dudes. I like the whole dudes Midnight Express Cornet thing. I like that whole story and that whole angle. Though I will say the Dynamic Dudes just seem weird for Jim Cornette. Like that's not the kind of team he typically works with. So it's a little weird for me, honestly. That is actually a little weird for me that he's with them. So I would not expect to see that go too much longer. Like because I think he knows it's kind of weird for him too. It just doesn't work. But I like that story. I just wish maybe it wasn't the Dynamic Dudes. Like take a team like the New Fantastics or some, I don't know, like just a team for me that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Maybe even like the Steiners or something, like a more credible team, basically, than the Dynamic Dudes.
You're not wrong.
Mm.
The only we got more. This woman storyline is so convoluted, but yeah. I don't know if it's because we missed more parts, but like I guess Kevin Sullivan's involved with this now, apparently, according to her talk with Cornette.
Yeah, I mean that's his real life wife at this point. It is convoluted. I don't know. Actually, I do think I know where it's going because of the team she works with at Halloween Havoc. And I think it's Kevin Sullivan's next stable is going to be those guys and a few other guys. It might be the what do they call them? The Dungeon of Terror or something like that.
I don't think that's quite yet, but I can see him working with them because they're called Doom. So I mean, it would make sense for Kevin Sullivan.
Yeah, he fits right. Yeah, he fits better with that than he did with the ex-college.
That's for sure.
can't get much worse than that. So, hey, if you want to keep Kevin Sullivan involved, it's a fine way to do it. But it is really convoluted because I think they need to set in stone ish like what they're doing with the whole woman character.
Yeah, I agree. It's like they had a big vision, but they had too many. They were throwing too many things at the wall.
Yeah, that's exactly it, man. I read it the same exact way. And sometimes when you do too much and you're like, oh, we want to do this, but we also want to do this, and you try to do it all, it's worse than had you just done one.
My last note, I had loved Luger's promo during this episode where he talked about Pillman rattling his cage and how he has a big reputation and he's not going to let Pillman tarnish it.
Yeah. Luger's work the last few months has been just on point for me.
Yeah, this might be the height of his character, honestly.
Yeah, because he has a character. He's not just the muscle-bound face that he's been for most of his career and for his career after this point. You know, even when he goes back to the WWF in the future, he's still just kind of that ripped up face without any personality. So I love seeing this side of him because it adds a human element. It gives us a character.
I couldn't agree more. Do you have any notes on October 21 I didn't touch?
No, this one was, I didn't have much on that show at all. Z-Man gets the Rotunda match. They announced that for Halloween. Yeah.
And I guess that just leaves the last episode before Halloween Havoc. I also don't have many notes.
No, I have the least notes for this card.
This one.
But I think it was happened the same day or something. And so they were just showing like squash matches of a bunch of people that were going to be on the card. So I think this was just like their build up to Halloween Havoc. Like, let's show a bunch of previews of the people that are going to be participating.
Yeah, my only note was that Oliver Humperdinck is now the Samoan SWAT team's new manager after they left Paulie.
Yeah, I literally only have 2 notes on this show. One was, and I wasn't even that one, but that is true. I have that the Midnight Express versus Dudes match is officially signed, and that Scott Hall is no longer Gator Hall. He is just Scott Jobber Hall.
Sad that he's no longer the Gator guy.
He's lost the Gator. He is there. They've relegated him to full jobber status. Poor Razor Ramon.
He's got a while to go until he's Razor too.
Sure. You got a great future ahead of you though, buddy. You don't worry.
Well, that brings us to the first ever Halloween Havoc. And the opening match was Rotunda and Z-Man. Actually, the other note I want to make is that they're in Philadelphia, and Philadelphia loves them some hills, that's for sure.
Yeah, they do. And you could tell with the way they were screaming for the heels throughout most of this entire it's not the city of brotherly love or whatever. Like, it is the city of heel love because sure. I'm with you on this. Yeah.
So they seem to be in Rotunda's corner for this match, at least for the most part. I mean, it was half and half for this match. It got worse as the night went on, but any thoughts on this match? It was kind of boring.
I mean, I don't like the Z-Man. I don't like these kind of gimmicks. So, and I say that, and it's weird because I like Pillman, who I think has about the same kind of gimmick as the Z-Man. They're basically just in shape.
True.
Generic faces. So I don't know, man. I didn't like the match. The match was really slow, but and I like Rotunda, but he's a slow worker. He does a lot of holds, like mat holds, a lot of just slow rest hold spots in this match. And then the fact, the Z-Man got a weird sort of roll up quick finish. I guess I'm okay with it. They're trying to get Z-Man a push. Rotunda hasn't really been anything since he dropped the TV title. So if you're trying to get the Z-Man a push, it's a good heel to get him, a win over. But the match itself was meh.
Yeah, it's not that I hated it. It's just, I guess I didn't care was the problem.
It was a slow match. It felt like it drug on. Like it was just a plodding match between two guys that aren't high impact workers, I suppose.
I agree. What are your thoughts on Bruno Sammartino being the referee for the Thunderdome, since he was more of a WWF guy?
I hate to just say this, and he's a super legend of the sport. I just don't care. I feel like it was thrown together quickly.
Yeah.
There was no build up to why he's there or anything like that. It was just like, hey, let's get this guy in there. Like, it didn't make sense for me.
Yeah, I agree. I was just wondering if it was maybe just some sort of like, hey, look at this. We have this old WWF legend as our special referee.
Yeah, it is the inaugural Halloween Havoc. Maybe it was a complete press Maybe it was a complete for the press and for the viewers, and they thought that if they could take a huge guy from the previous era of WWF, insert him into the card, that it would help viewers.
I'm gonna see if he's from Philadelphia. Maybe that would make a little more sense too.
That would make a lot more sense.
If my phone would work. Well, he's from Italy, but it does act like he lived in Pennsylvania.
He died in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. So it's possible.
Yeah, he was billed from Pittsburgh for a while.
Well, that makes a little more sense, I guess.
Yeah, that does. I would have never guessed that, but that's so on the, you hit the nail on the head right there. That's the only thing that makes it make any sense.
The second match, another match I really didn't care about, but it was Midnight Express and Steve Williams versus the Samoan SWAT team and the Samoan Savage.
This was another card in general where I think the first half wasn't very good and the second half got better.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't even have a note written for this match. I just have who won. I don't have anything written.
My only note is that I just Bobby Eaton be taking some rough bumps sometimes, and every pay-per-view match he decides he's going to take a huge bump. In this match, he gets thrown on the concrete. So I mean, I guess props to Eaton.
Yeah, he's a beautiful Bobby. He's a tough guy. Underrated guy too. In the annals of wrestling history, a guy a lot of people would probably overlook, but he's fantastic. And I like the SST too, and I like the Midnight Express. I don't know, this match, there was nothing at stake. I just didn't care.
I agree.
And Williams getting injected into it made it make even less sense.
True. This is one match that the fans were really into the faces, though. They loved some Steve Williams, I guess.
No comment.
Well, they did win. No, who won that match? No, Cornette got. I guess he got they were furthering the whole feud with Stan Lane because Stan Lane knocks over Cornette, which helped give the Samoan SWAT team the win. So at least they continue some story.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean that I do appreciate.
I forgot about it until I saw my notes.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have it written either, and that does make sense because it is furthering that, but it's further, like I said, it's furthering a storyline that most people don't care about because it's the dynamic dudes.
Well, speaking of not care about, the next match was Tommy Rich and the Cuban Assassin.
I on purpose left this off my notes. I remembered this match took place. I didn't even write this match on my notes. That's how.
I just wrote just why with a question.
I think I didn't watch this whole match either. I watched the first 2 minutes and I straight skipped through it. I could give a good shit about this match.
Yeah, there was no point.
And Tommy Rich is on his way back down. His climb to that title shot and his great match with Luger.
It was a great
match.
He's
back to where he was for me. Yeah.
Well, at least he had one last
that last
match,
hurrah. That's it.
Well, next the show at least started getting interesting. It was the tag titles, Freebirds versus Dynamic Dudes. Philly loved them some Freebirds and hated them some Dynamic Dudes.
As they should. And this is coming from a self-proclaimed Dynamic Dudes semi-fan. But come on, it's the fabulous Freebirds. They were in the movie Highlander. At the beginning of Highlander, the freaking fabulous Freebirds are all up in the ring doing their dancing and stuff while he's outside sword fighting in the parking garage. The Dynamic Dudes are a flash in the pants. Like, they're nothing. So yeah, I mean, they should like the Freebirds more. How can you not like the Freebirds more than the Dudes? And I like the Dudes, but still.
Yeah, I totally get it. My main problem with the Dudes is they at least in this match and others I've seen, they botch when they have to double team people, they are botching all the time.
That might be what's causing the early demise of the Dudes.
Must be.
It could be because I actually feel like they should have been booked to win this match just to set up a Midnight Express them.
They have the strong setup. I agree.
And that's my main problem with this, even though I'm a bigger Freebirds fan than dudes, obviously. I just feel like the dude should have won this match. It would have made that whole Cornette thing way more provocative in terms of, just we care about it so much more.
I agree completely. I also felt like the storytelling would have been better if the dudes actually did win this match
with Cornette. And that's all, like in my brain, I was like, if Cornette comes out, hits one of the Freebirds with the racket to get the dudes the title, and then cost the dudes the title against the Midnight Express, to me, that would be the best story kept telling they could have done.
You're right. That would have been a great story. So now it just feels like the match means less, and the dudes are just probably not going to be around that much longer.
That's their curtain call now. Yeah. Because it had to go through someone's brain to maybe give the dudes the win here. Somebody backstage.
There's so many people on the booking committee. Maybe somebody is strongly behind them, and then others are not.
That could be it. Because when they set this whole thing up, it just feels like they missed a huge payoff by booking it like this. But Freebirds win. What you gonna do?
I mean, I'll take it. I enjoy the Freebirds a lot, and the tag division overall in WCW is very strong right now.
Yeah, they are. There can be only one. It was the Freebirds on this night.
Well, speaking of tag teams, we got our newest tag team, Doom, with women. Ron Simmons and Butch Reid. They finally found something for both of them to do after fumbling Butch Reid early in the year. And really, Ron Simmons hasn't gone anywhere either. So at least they have a tag team now.
Yeah, this was brilliant for me to pair these two like this. Just because exactly what you said, they botched both of them. These are two really big athletic guys who look like they can do some damage in the ring, and they didn't really do anything with them individually. Minor push for Butch Reid that was halted pretty quick. Yep. Really, Ron Simmons never even left the ground. So while I don't think this capitalizes on their potential fully by a mile, it is a step up from what they had them doing before. At least now they are a menacing team getting a big win in their debut.
Yeah, for sure. They beat the Steiners, who have been hot lately. And you're right. They just look the part. They're supposed to be these big brutes that are like beating people up, and women's paying them to do so. So definitely makes sense.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, and I don't think this loss really does anything too negative for the Steiners. I feel like they're still.
Yeah, there was some foolery in it too, where woman put something in Butch Reid's mask.
Yeah. He headbutted him with it. So yeah, I mean, the fact that it wasn't a super clean finish it doesn't really hurt the Steiners to lose this match, but it gets these guys, the Doom team, over. It gets them a huge win right out of the gate that makes them a credible threat in this tag team division that, as you just said, feels very stacked.
It is stacked. I mean, I think it's the best part of WCW right now, in my opinion, because they all have stories, they all have feuds, they all have, well, not all of them, but most of them have something going for them.
Yeah, and they for the most part, they're all pretty good in the ring. And Sid Vicious can make up for Dan Spivey. So.
Can he? Are you sure about that?
Kinda. I mean, no, but kinda.
Well, next, Luger's hot streak continued. The U.S. title, Luger versus Pillman, another pretty good Luger match.
Yeah, I enjoyed this one. And I was happy, even though they had been pushing Pillman to the moon, I was glad to see Luger retain here. I think it fits the narrative better. And it gives Luger more time to work out this character that he's finally got something going with.
Yeah, Luger's doing great. It made sense for me because they did what they needed to do with Pillman. He's been hot. He's been winning all these matches. He gets to his biggest match yet and loses. It makes sense for me.
Yeah.
And I like the story in the match. It was like them both trying to find their own pace for the match. And eventually Luger had to be at his pace, and it worked out for Luger anyway.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't even think about it like that, Nick, but I like that. Because yeah, that's exactly the way this match kind of crescendoed, was that Luger was trying to keep it slow. Pillman was kind of trying to keep it high paced. And Luger, even as the heel, had to overcome. I dig that. I dig that take a lot.
So yes, Luger retains. So we went from a good match to a match that disappointed me a lot, which was the Skyscrapers and the Road Warriors. Because I was looking forward to this match. Maybe it was my own hype, but it just didn't do anything for me.
I went into it with a lot lower expectations than I think you did. Granted, I didn't like the match, so we're on the same page about that. But I went in, usually when it's the big Hulks against the big hulking guys, I just already know this is not going to be we're not going to get a technical display. But you can do some cool things when you have giants against giants. And this match didn't really do it for me on that level. And then I don't like the DQ finish. I just didn't. I wanted one of these teams to come out with a clean win here, so to establish themselves as the top dog.
You think it'll continue?
I think it has to. I almost think it has to at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like one of them has to win a match against each other. But yeah, I have no other thoughts on this other than it was disappointing.
Very.
And that brings us to the main event. I've been looking forward to your opinion on the Thunderdome cage match.
Okay. I like this match. Despite the extraness of the Thunderdome and the fact that it could have just been like a Hell in a Cell, I thought the match was fine. I thought all the guys got to show their stuff. The pace was pretty reasonable. There were some pretty cool spots in the match for that time period. Stuff that I think we take for granted these days, like guys jumping off of stuff and doing stuff. There's a couple cool moments. Sting landed a big splash off pretty close to the top of the cage. And for I always try to put myself in this period of time. And for this period of time, I feel like this match delivered. I think by today's standards, it didn't as much, but this match was fine for me. It wasn't a masterpiece. It wasn't terrible.
I hated it. I hated it. I'm like, what the fuck was this? That's how I felt about it. There were just so many things
what
that
you like about it. Like what got you like that?
I don't know. I just feel like they've been building up this for a while now, since the last pay-per-view. And I just think they went too far with this gimmick match, because there were points when they were getting towards the top of the cage and nothing was happening.
Yes, because what was the point of climbing up? Your guy had to throw in the towel for you to lose.
Yeah, so like, I mean, obviously I know it's not going to be 10,000 watts of electricity or maybe any electricity, but like, if you're going to have this gimmick, then don't climb the top of the cage, because then it just looks stupid.
It takes the whole, yeah, it's kind of like the sparklers going off at the AEW exploding ring match, and all we get is a couple of sparklers. It was like, so I could see that. I think for me, maybe the reason that I feel like I enjoyed this match was because there wasn't a whole lot of good matches over the course of this month. There really weren't. This match did make my top 3. And I think it was simply because, like, I'm looking over the matches for the month, and I just there just wasn't wasn't a lot of good matches.
I tried to give it a chance. Like the first few minutes, I was kind of enjoying it. I liked the spot where Flair like cheap shot at a slap on Muda. That was hilarious. But then it just kind of it was, I don't know. It was a fail for me. I did not enjoy it. The concept failed, in my opinion.
The concept failed from the jump. Like, that's kind of even what we were talking about. Like it was just not a good concept. The concept failed from conception.
Well, because of that main event, I lowered it more than I intended to. I was going to give it like a low 7, but I just decided to drop it to a 6.9.
I gave it a 7, even.
Still good enough to beat the WWF, though. Gets them a 6.95.
I think WWF will make a strong showing next month with Survivor Series.
Yeah, they should. Because that puts WCW up by 8 points. This is their biggest lead so far. They just need to win one more month to win the year. WWF can only tie at this point.
Yeah, and I think it's gonna come right down to the wire. Again, I have a feeling WWF will make a case for the win next month, and this could all come down to December.
I agree. Very interesting. I still think WCW came a long way since the beginning of us doing this.
Oh Lord, it was almost unbearable at first. It was almost unbearable to watch at first.
Well, let's do our top 3s. We'll start with tag teams. I put the Skyscrapers at number 3.
I actually also have the Skyscrapers at number 3.
Nice. Makes sense. I put Doom at number 2. They had a pretty good debut.
I went with the Legion of Doom, just because they got the win over the Skyscrapers, I guess. And I didn't really want to put, see, it's weird that you put Doom, because the other team I had that I was thinking about was the Steiners. But I think because they lost and they haven't really been featured as much this month, there wasn't a whole lot of tag teams that stood out. Like even though the tag team division stacked,
yeah,
it wasn't a whole lot of tag teams that like really stood out.
My number 1 was the Freebirds. They were beloved in Philadelphia, so
beloved everywhere.
We will get to matches. Thunderdome will not be in my top 3. Spoiler alert. I put Doom and Steiners at number 3.
Thunderdome is my number 3, if that makes it any better for you. It cracked my top 3. But I would like to add a caveat to this category, because I didn't want to put a match on here that you may have not watched. My actual favorite match of this month, which I didn't put as on my top 3, was the Flair Funk I Quit match. It was a good match.
I might have to go back and watch that if I remember.
It was a good match. Well, it was better than the 3 matches that I have on here, because I'm not super high on any of my 3 top matches this month. So I don't know if the Flair Funk match was that good or if it was just better than the other 3.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm only high on the number 1, so.
Me too.
Number 2 was Freebirds and the Dudes.
This one I gave the benefit of the doubt to Martel and Tito.
That makes sense.
I read and the little bit I saw of it, I wanted to give WWF a little love here and assume that these guys did their work. And so I put them at number 2, which says a lot that I'm putting a match I saw 5 minutes of on my list.
I tried to find it. I was hoping I could find it, but didn't know of it.
Yeah, I looked for it too. But that just goes to show the low quality of matches overall for the month for me.
Well, number 1, Luger and Pillman. It's pretty crazy that Luger be out here he has his reputation, but I feel like he's one of the best things going right now.
He is. There's no 2 ways about it. His mic work and his ring work are both on point. In a lot of ways, this might be, even though it might not be the pinnacle of his career from an accomplishment standpoint, this might be the pinnacle of his career from a worker standpoint, like in a technical, promo work and in-ring work.
Well, feuds, I put Perfect and Hogan at number 3, even though it was mostly one-sided, but
I have Pillman and Luger at number 3. I like what they did.
This was a hard one. My number 2 is Cornette / the Dudes / the Express. I didn't really know how to make that into a feud, but it was one of the more intriguing feuds, I guess.
The Cornette love triangle, if you will. I have Flair and Funk at number 2. I still like what I'm seeing from these guys. Their promo work is both pretty good. And they've made me believe in it and what they got going on.
My number 1 was Luger Pillman. I just enjoyed them the most this month.
That's valid. They killed it. I went with Perfect Hogan, even though it was one-sided. I think that's why I loved it the most, because I didn't have to listen to Hogan. I just got to listen to how much better Mr. Perfect was.
Touche.
And how Hogan couldn't do anything that Mr. Perfect could do. So I just love Mr. Perfect's work so much on those little vignettes that he did.
Very valid. Well, superstars, I put Pillman at 3.
I'm glad we segued right into superstars from that one, because I went with Mr. Perfect. I just liked his work a lot.
Yeah, I actually put Perfect at 2. So
all right.
I also
you clearly like them too. I have Flair at number 2.
And by 1, I decided you were right last month. It's Luger. He's number 1.
I decided I was also right last month and kept Luger at the number 1 spot. He's just on point, man. He's just on point.
I wonder if Luger will make a late push to be Superstar of the Year. I've been keeping tally, so eventually in December, we're gonna have some nominees, and we're gonna be better than the Meltzer Awards at deciding.
I love it. I love that idea. I can't wait to do that. Off the top of my head, I think it's him and Flair. Got to be the front runners at this point. Just spitballing without actually looking through my notes and in kind of tallying it up. Those are the 2 guys that stick out the most to me.
Well, any final thoughts on October?
It's close. I mean, it was another fairly close month. Not another blowout sort of month. And my prediction is just, I actually am going to predict that WWF wins next month on the back of Survivor Series. Even though while we were doing this, I actually looked at the teams that are competing in Survivor Series, and some of them are just not spectacular.
Yeah, I was worried about the teams. That's why I didn't like the build. There was something off about the build.
There's something off about all the teams. There's a match here with Savage, Earthquake, Dino Bravo, and Greg Valentine against Jim Duggan, Bret Hart, Ronnie Garvin, and Hercules. I don't know how much less I could care about anybody in that match other than Bret Hart.
I don't know. I think WCW might be able to beat them.
And so I know, looking at these matchups, I'm not. I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
I feel like WWF has dropped the ball on their pay-per-views this year.
Do you know if WCW has a big event next month?
That's a good question. I don't know when the next Clash is. Let me try and look real quick. Because the last one was Clash 8, I think.
I do believe if WCW is going to have any chance at beating WWF when WWF has a pay-per-view like Survivor Series, because even if it's a lackluster Survivor Series, it'll beat most of the World Championship Wrestling Saturday night, events.
Yeah, probably.
So if WCW doesn't have at least a Clash of Champions with some decent matches on it, I actually think it'll be a cakewalk for WWF, unless WCW does some brilliant work with their shows.
Clash of Champions 9, where are you? They do have a Clash, so it could be WCW.
Good, I like it. I like it because I want a competitive month, and I feel like that they both need to have marquee shows of some sort to have a competitive month from what we've seen.
Yeah, that's good. This could give WCW the win on the year for 1989. They have a better Clash than Survivor Series.
It could happen based on some of these teams.
Yeah. Well, WCW in the lead. We shall end it there. I want to thank you for joining me. November should be interesting. I'm glad there's a Clash. So.
Yeah. Looking forward to that. Ready to see how this year finishes up for sure, man. Ready to see how this year finishes up.
All right. Well, we will see everybody next week.